Hello, everyone. Welcome to Unapologetically Keto. My name is Ralph Peterson, and this is the show where we stop asking or stop apologizing for saying, hey, what's in that? What did you make that in? Do you use actual ghee to cook it, or do you use seed oils? Like everybody else at the table is like, oh my God, Ralph, would you just eat it? Oh my God, Ralph. Or can you have, is there something that I can have? I don't know if we can go to that restaurant. I don't know if there's something Ralph can have, At some point, we just have to go, you know what? We're not going to apologize anymore. That's what this show is. We're unapologetically ripping the bandaid off and just taking an honest look at ourselves. Well, at me anyway. And I got to tell you, ripping the Band-Aid off has been both a blessing and a curse. It has been the most amazing thing for me. I've been on a wonderful journey. And at the same time, every question I get answers to seem to lead me to 5 other questions. And it's here's the thing. Let me just cut to the chase. Let me spell it out. I just had another blood test, and my cholesterol is over 500. My cholesterol is over 500. Now, there is no way to sugarcoat you know what it is? Gosh, I don't even know. Well, I'm glad you're here welcome to Unapologetically Keto, where I find myself tongue-tied, not even able to explain what is going on in my brain right now, because yes, my cholesterol is over 500. In fact, I can even show it to you. It's 597. It's 597. And I have 2 thoughts in my head, of course. I have the thought in my head that I grew up with, and that is a super high number, and you got to get it under control or you're going to die. That's what I've been raised to believe with high cholesterol, especially 597. I don't know anyone with 597 cholesterol. And then I also am listening to a bunch of keto influencers, doctors, experts on YouTube mainly, how they're telling me that high cholesterol is not the end of the world. And in fact, you should probably take into account more than just the total cholesterol numbers. There's other numbers to be looking at, and it's a bigger picture than just cholesterol. And I want to believe them too. I want to believe that having 597 total cholesterol is not a death sentence. And I don't want to have 597 total cholesterol numbers. It's a scary number. It's a scary number, and I don't know what to do with that number. And to make it, let's make it even worse. To make it even worse, before I started Unapologetically Keto, and yes, I cut my hand the other day. I have to have stitches. I'm a mess. This week started out on Monday. I had a fantastic Monday, right up until I cut my hand. And then from me cutting my hand, having to go get stitches until today, until right now, it's been a crapshoot. It's been a challenging few days. It's just been a challenging few days. Before I decided to start this show, doing a weekly show called Unapologetically Keto, I had been thinking about doing a podcast for a long time. The reason I started my career podcasting way back in 2005. So I did a podcast from 2005 until 2011 when I decided that I wanted to write a book. I decided I wanted to go get my master's degree. I wanted to take a little bit more time because I was working full time while doing this radio show, this podcast for 6 years. So anyway, I've been thinking about all the topics over the last couple of years. Like what what gets me fired up? What am I excited about? What could I talk about for an hour once a week? What would make me, keep me up? Like I really love doing my show the last time, and I think you really have to find something that you really love to talk about in order to produce a good show. Hopefully you're seeing that I'm passionate about it, right? I'm passionate about finding ketosis. I'm passionate about tracking my metrics. I'm passionate about hearing other people's stories. I'm passionate about trying to win this battle, which seemingly is against the entire world. And for a little bit of time, I got to tell you, I'm going to try to open this without what it is I can't squeeze this hand. A little bubble water. I thought for a hot minute that I was going to do a show called Waking Up with Ralph Peterson. And the reason that the premise behind the show is actually quite heartbreaking. It's not a good show. The reason I decided not to do it is because as passionate as I am with the idea of doing a show called Waking Up with Ralph Peterson, it is a depressing topic. This is the premise. I'm 54. I turn 55 next month. And I'm going to say that for, I don't know, nearly 50 years of that. That's a pathetic number, but nearly 50 entire years of that. I guess since 2020. Honestly. I have started to realize that I've almost been living in a Truman Show environment my whole life. Like everything that I not only believed, but everything that I based my beliefs on have been slowly chipped away. I'm going to say it all out loud, and I know it's going to sound absolutely ridiculous, but I couldn't wait to be a United States Marine as a kid. I couldn't wait. I could not. I remember I was in college and we were talking about, I don't know what we were talking about, but I had said that I would proudly die for my country. And I remember there was an older guy in the classroom, not too much older, but a few years older than me. And he thought that was the most ridiculous thing he had ever heard. Why would you ever want to die for your country of all the things? I mean, for family, for God, but for your country. But I was like kind of indoctrinated, my whole life. My grandfather's a Marine. My dad was a Marine. My uncle was in the Air Force. Like we're military. We're a very proud American military family. And when I was a young man, what greater honor was there? I don't know. I just believed in the red, white, and blue. I believed in the premise that America is the best country, not because we perform the best, not because we don't get it wrong, not because we have the latest and greatest technology or artists, or not because of any of that, but because of our heart was pure. Because we were the good guys. We were the ones who were always seeking truth and justice. And so imagine my utter surprise and dismay, and I'm ashamed to say, I was 50 when COVID, if COVID didn't happen, maybe I'd still be having my head in the sand. I don't know. But then once you get down, that starts taking away your belief, and my dad was a minister, and so I've always had like a little bit of a I don't know what to call it, a little bit of a understanding. When you're a PK, when you're a preacher kid, you see two very distinct sides of your father. You see the side of your father that is holier than thou, everybody, and then you see him, being upset because, the dishes weren't done, and cursing, and, partaking, in some extraordinary things. And you kind of live when you're PK, you kind of live in that limbo between like, wait a minute. I thought we were all supposed to be like that dad over there. Who the heck is this dad over here, you know? So I also have always questioned morality of people in religious situations. And I've always, God, I always understood that there were two sides, that front-facing side and that back-facing side. And as much as I can say that I've known that since I was a kid, I'm still surprised by it. I'm still surprised when a religious person does something immoral or justifies something immoral based on a religious belief. Like, I'm a Christian. My religious belief is, thou shalt not kill is pretty paramount. There isn't any, like the innocent factor doesn't go away. And now I'm making a full point here. And now with the medical community and with health and with this whole thing about glyphosate, like what universe are we living in? What, you know what I mean? So for a long time, I was thinking about doing a show called Waking Up with Ralph Peterson, and I would share all of my aha moments, where I'm going like, what, they lied about that too? Like, because I come from, let me try to explain it like this. I come from an understanding and a belief that individuals lie. I lie. You lie. Okay. Individuals lie. And individuals lie generally for only a handful of reasons. One, it's because they don't want you to know the truth. It's probably the most important reason. But meaning it's because of them. Sometimes it's because of you. Sometimes they're just cheaters, liars, and stealers trying to manipulate. What I almost want to say understand, but I didn't believe, I couldn't fathom that there's actually, it's not a bunch of individuals lying. There's an actual group of people who are all in agreement to lie to another group of people. They just collectively decide to go, okay, yeah, all right, I'll lie with you. I will join your lie, and I will go there. I got to say that my mother is really good at this, but it's like a mother-child thing. I never really considered it much more than that. But like, if I were caught lying, even let's say like we were just at a barbecue and I made up a little bit of a fib instead of, racing and coming in third place in a bike race, I lie and I say I came into second place. My mom would agree she would not call me on it. She wouldn't go like, you actually took third place. Nice try there. Pat me on that. She'd actually go, yeah, you did take second. Oh my God, he was so, you know what I mean? So I God bless my mother, right? It just goes with it. But it's not we're not trying to cause harm in that line. She's not jumping on board to, create some massive damage or sway one way or another. But when it comes to medical now, and I'm only talking medical now. I'm not going to talk about politics. I'm not going to talk about the wars. Again, I'm not doing the show Waking Up with Ralph Peterson. If I were, I wouldn't be having as much fun. Because again, it's embarrassing to even admit. Like, here's the thing. I remember distinctly, and I was old. Man, I don't even know how old I was. I was at least a teenager, if not late teens, when I realized that the reason I couldn't see, don't laugh when you hear this. I realized that the reason I couldn't see stars out at night Like, why are some nights you can see stars and why you can't see stars the other night? And the reason is because of cloud cover. I never took that into consideration for one reason or another. You probably like knew it all along. It took me a long time, to even think about it, like why I even was sitting there thinking about it, going like, why don't I see the clouds, see the stars? It makes no sense. Where did they go? They can't go anywhere. And I'm like, oh yeah, maybe, it must be cloudy out. Right? Like, so I'm saying all that to say that when I was getting prepared for today's show and I was, I've been doing all these tests. Today's been a testing day. I did my blood work last week. I got the test results on Monday and they look great. I'm going to go over them with you and I'll show you what the results are. They look really great, all except for this one stupid number, the cholesterol number. Everything else, I should be really proud of. And because of the cholesterol number, I have a historical echo in my head, that I can still hear from everybody. The cholesterol's too high. Cholesterol's going to kill you. And I still sit here and go, wait. How? I don't understand. Don't just tell me to take a statin. Don't just tell me that you want to put me on a pill. Don't just tell me I have to now start taking, my doctor wants me to not only take a statin, but also do a daily injection. I don't know of what. Of a statin, I imagine. I don't know. And take baby aspirin. Why? I have been raised to not only revere doctors because they are the smartest people in the world. They have to go through it's so hard. As a kid growing up, the fundamental language around education was the degree of difficulty. Doctor was the most difficult. And if you could become a doctor, if you could get into medical school and then actually pass, you were genius level. That's just how I was raised to believe. Then maybe, I don't know, lawyer was after that, right? And then it just kind of goes down. And then you get to plumber or something, which is where I kind of live, right? So I've always not only revered them for their intelligence, been taught to revere them for their intelligence, but for their moral what? Stance, their moral clarity, the Hippocratic Oath, which is so tied to it, like doctors take an oath that they will not do any harm. And then all of that gets shattered. I don't believe any of it anymore. Heck, once we started to see celebrities could buy their kids into college, I was like, you didn't have to take a test? No, it just cost a couple of bucks. I was like, all right, so college seems to be not as hard to get into as I had anticipated. Like I was taught, I was told. College isn't as revered as it once was. And that is, I got to tell you, that is why I decided not to do Waking Up with Ralph Peterson as a podcast, because at the end of the day, it's heartbreaking. It's a heartbreaking realization that everybody is lying to you, is being dishonest with you. And there are some groups who are doing it as a group, and they do not care the consequences you are suffering. There is zero empathy. Zero. I don't want to make this about my doctor, but I just want to say again, I told you a few weeks ago I went to the VA and I got the body scan, and when the tech looks at my scan, I was supposed to be, she's a nutritionalist and she was hosting a nutrition class that I had signed up for. Like that was the whole point of this. I had signed up for the nutrition class and they do the whole body scan first. when you start, and then you're supposed to be following the government guidelines, which is not keto. It's the opposite. It's low fat, high carbohydrate. I don't do it, but I do find myself going back and saying 6 months later, can I have another one of those scans? And so I don't say anything about keto. I just want another scan. So she gets the scan, she prints it out, she looks at it, and she is so excited for me. She's like, oh my God, you cut your body fat in half. My body fat went from 34.4% to 17.5%. That's crazy. She's like, oh my God, look at your weight. You went from 267 pounds to 196.5. Crazy. She is so happy with me. She gives me a D+, which she explains is really an A+. And then she's like, I'm so happy you following the protocol. And I say, actually, I didn't do your diet. I did keto. And the number one thing she says is, the next thing out of her mouth is, well, you got to watch your cholesterol. And I throw my hands up in the air. I'm like, come on. Now, is there a conspiracy between her and I? Is she trying to pull the wool over my eyes? Is she trying to make it so that I fail and do the wrong things? Of course not. One of the big things that I'm really, really trying to keep in mind is to really look at everything with a view of empathy, because imagine being in the hospital. And I mean, I'm not in the hospital, and I was raised to revere doctors. I was raised to believe doctors are the smartest people. I was raised to believe that doctors always had goodness in their heart. They always did the right thing. They're nearly biblical. Like doctors, in me growing up as a kid, we put them on the altar next to a priest. I mean, they just were there. They were the same. The priest was more godly, of course, and more knowledgeable about God, but you could trust a doctor as much as you could trust a priest. That's really how I was raised. And so if I worked in a hospital and my doctor was giving me the order to do this to that patient and give this to that patient, I wouldn't question it. And if I still worked at the hospital right now, even after everything comes out, I would still not be able to believe. That these doctors, these people I'm working with day in and day out, are evil, are collectively trying to get over on people. And I don't think that I'm just trying to say, this is going to be the dumbest podcast today. I apologize. Hi, Kat. Kat is saying hello in the chat. Say hello if you're out there listening. I appreciate you all. Let me just summarize by saying that I, Ralph Peterson, am waking up and it's breaking my heart. That's what it's doing. It's heartbreaking to learn that my government is working against me, and my government learns that there is this chemical called glyphosate, and it's poisoning all our food for me and my neighbors and my wife and my kids and my grandkids and my aunts and my uncles and my parents. And, everyone in the entire United States is being poisoned to death by this drug or by this chemical, glyphosate. And on one hand, my president says, we are going to get this stuff out of here. Out of here. When I become president, this is what we're gonna fix this. We're gonna make America healthy again. And then they get president and they go, well, you know what? There's a lot of businesses that rely on that money, and we can't just take away that money from them. So we're just gonna let them keep using glyphosate. In translation, we're gonna continue to suffer and die at the hands of our own government because of money? Is that really a thing? Is that the country I live in? Is that where we are? So again, waking up without peace, not a happy story. I'm not excited about it. But let me let me get to my numbers. Let me show you what's been going on over the last couple of days. All right, wait, I'm going to get to that. Let me get to this first. And once again, I got to say that doing the finger stick every day, it's almost like when football is on. You can tell on whether or not my team won or not by how I'm behaving on Monday morning, right? Like if my team didn't win on Sunday's game, I'm having a tough time. Hi, Liz. I'm having a tough time on Monday morning if my team lost. And that is what this finger stick is doing to me. Every morning I wake up, I prick my finger, I check my glucose and my ketones, and that number, and I'm sorry to even say this, but it's true. It dictates my mood for the next couple of hours. If it's a good number, then I'm just high-fiving my wife and I'm like, let's get some coffee. This day is going to be awesome. But like I woke up this morning and I was at 0.7. Yesterday, at 5:40, I was at 0.9. This morning I wake up and I'm at 0.7 and my glucose is 111. It just sends me down. I'm like, what is happening? And here's the reason. Let me show you why it throws me off and a little tizzy here. This is Monday. Let's look at, forget the food. The food's, let's just look at these numbers. Okay. The important numbers are 63 grams of protein on Monday. 176, highlight. 176 grams of fat and 4 grams of carbs for a total of 1,878 calories, which equals on Tuesday morning, this is today. This is Tuesday. That's Tuesday night, Tuesday morning. So that's what I eat on Monday. Keep that in mind. I eat this on Monday. I'm 82% fat, 18% protein, 63 grams of protein, 4 grams of carbs, like nothing in carbs. I wake up 1.7 ketones. I feel amazing waking up yesterday morning, right? Then if you look at Tuesday. Wait, I should have had Monday. Okay, this is Monday. 63 grams of protein. Hopefully you can see that. 63 grams of protein, 176 grams of fat. Huge, great ratio. Tuesday, nearly identical. 63 grams of protein again. On the dot. I have 164 grams of fat, a little less fat, 12 grams of carbs, so more carbs, a little bit more calories, 1,800 calories, but I still think I'm going to be doing really great. And instead of doing really great, my ketones drop to the floor. They drop to the floor. And I was watching Dr. Boz on Tuesday, as one does, and she made a really, really strong point. A point that I just got to keep reminding myself, right? Like there's 3 things in play here. There's the food that I'm intaking. There's me, pre-planning, pre-tracking, that kind of thing. Then there's the food that I intake, the time of day that I'm eating. But then there's this other really big, significant component that I have no control over. I can control when I eat. I can control what I eat. I can control the ratios I'm eating. But I cannot control what my body is going to choose to do with it. And so sometimes my body is really good at recycling the protein, and sometimes it isn't. Sometimes it feels like it needs to go in a little bit of overdrive to kick up some ketone production, and sometimes it doesn't. And it does not appear to matter fully on what I'm eating day to day. I say fully because, of course, it matters what I put in my mouth. It matters what time of day I eat. And then that brings me to the second thing I want to talk about. And that is, let me bring you back here. This morning, I was at 0.7. Dr. Boz yesterday was talking about intermittent fasting. If you haven't listened, go check it out. It's a really good episode. She does a really great job. Tuesday nights, 4 p.m., Dr. Boz, that's my public service announcement. Always be listening to Dr. Boz. She is a very big proponent. She was walking us through the steps on how to go from not in a state of ketosis to, from like a level 1 to a level 2, a level 3, a level 4 on this, what she calls a keto continuum. And your goal maybe is to get to either eating 2 meals a day in a 4-hour window or 1 meal a day in a 1-hour window. That's kind of the goal. And both of those work really well depending on who you are. So don't be like 1 meal a day, 1 hour, that's the best. It's not exactly like that because everybody falls in a different place, different way, and a different reason. But so it's time restricting. So you start with having a 16-hour window and then an 8-hour window and then, go to 7 hours and 6 hours and 5 hours, trying to get to that 4-hour window. And ideally, she's like, if you eat at 10 a.m. and then you should be done eating at 2 p.m., 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. Okay. That means that she wants you to stop eating at 2 p.m., and then go the whole day, and then the next morning to T on T, test on toilet, prick your finger, test your blood and your ketones, and you should see really good blood and ketone numbers. Okay. Let's say, for instance, that you're getting up at 6 a.m., and that's when you're testing, 6 a.m. So if you stop eating at 2 p.m. and go till 6 a.m., that is 18 hours. It's 18 hours without food. And so you're fasting for 18 hours, 16 hours before you start eating. And so then your glucose should be low, your ketones should be high because of that metabolic flexing. Well, the big question I have, because she is very adamant that it's the time of the day, that eating before 3 p.m. And in fact, she says, if you're hungry after 3 p.m., test your blood glucose. If it's over 100, you're not eating. So she's very much has that 3 p.m. shut off window. And it's a 3 p.m. It's a hard line. It's not the number of hours you go between eating and testing. It's the time of day, which also equals the number of hours. So I have been testing for a long time before I eat dinner. Not in the morning, but before I eat dinner. Because I'm thinking, I'm only eating 1 meal a day. I'd rather test 20 hours fasted, 23 hours fasted, than to test 16 hours fasted. But she keeps in my head on this time thing. So I decided today that I'm going to start testing my blood and my ketones 3 times a day. So I'm going to do a control measure. I'll share it daily as I do it, but I really want to see if it's making a difference. And I got to say, based on today's data, the answer is no. It hasn't made a bit of difference. So here we go. This is what I'm going to do. I am going to test my blood when I first wake up in the morning. That's going to be the first test. This morning, it was 0.7 ketones and a 111 glucose. I finished eating dinner at 6 p.m. So the second time I'm going to test my blood is 20 hours in to my fast. So at 2 p.m. today, I tested my blood again. Now that 20-hour number is going to be my control because what time I actually finish eating always changes. It could be 5:45. It could be 6:10. It could be 5:30. It could be 5, right? That's always changing. And when I get up in that relationship, the time between when I stop eating and when I get up is always going to change. So that number is just going to be my start. My control is always going to be 20 hours. So wherever 20 hours lies, I will do a blood stick. And then I did another blood stick right before I ate. So you can see I ate at 5:47 tonight, or more likely like 5:50, because I was plating it when I went up and just, so let me check my numbers right now. And I had gone, now look at this as positive. This morning, just look at the glucose, 111. And then at 2 p.m., 20 hours later, I dropped to 87. And then at 5:45 p.m., almost, now I'm almost 23, well, I am 23 hours into fasting, my glucose has dropped to 76. So metabolically, that's a win, right? Like, that's good. I don't know what the heck the 111 is from this morning. Who knows? But I'm going to take the other two numbers as a win. I think going from 0.7 to 0.6 is pretty decent, and I'm going to continue to maintain. I'm going to continue to try, doing my fasting, pre-tracking, all of that. All right, let's get into my numbers. So here we go. Numbers from this week: 5.2% of my A1C, which is good. This, by the way, is a little breakdown from ChatGPT. I literally took my blood test and I uploaded it to ChatGPT, and I said, tell me what I'm doing right, what I'm doing wrong, what I need to work on. And so here it is. Where's my pen? I'll use a red pen. 597 is my total cholesterol. Let me move myself over here. 597 is my total cholesterol. 500 of it is the LDL, the bad cholesterol. 79 is the HDL, what they call the good cholesterol. And then my triglycerides were at 90. Okay. What does all this mean? Well, if you ask my doctor, it means I'm headed for a heart attack. But it might not mean that. It might also be something called a lean mass hyperresponder. A lean mass hyperresponder. So basically, let me try to explain this. And again, I'm just learning this myself, but I'm extremely interested. I am extremely interested. I really, really, really want to get this right. I really want to know what the hell is going on. So from what I understand, let me just back up with cholesterol. And you correct me if anybody out there knows the answer, if you're like, you're close, but okay. The reason that cholesterol is thought to be dangerous is because cholesterol does have the ability to get behind the cell wall lining in your blood vessels. And anything, to include cholesterol, that gets behind there can cause inflammation. And then there's this wild little thing. And again, I think I'm 80% right. I'm 80% that I am right. But again, correct me if you can, because I want to learn. I'm happy to be wrong. Inflammation anywhere in the body signals for help. And the help comes in the form of white blood cells. And white blood cells attack. They attack the inflammation. But in doing so, they are expending energy. The white blood cells are expending energy. And this is what's interesting. That energy expenditure is also creating waste. And that waste, again, I'm pretty sure I'm right here, that waste is part of the calcification inside the artery. So it's almost because of the white, so A, we got the inflammation, and then B, the white blood cells come, let me clean this all up. And there's a little bit of debris from the white blood cells still left behind. And that adds to the calcification. Okay. So any inflammation in the blood is not the best, because if it gets behind the arterial walls, it can cause inflammation, cause problems. Okay. In normal people who are not on a ketogenic diet, the number of fat in their blood vessels is a lot lower than for someone like me who is keto adapted. because what's mainly going in their bloodstream is glucose. Now, if we think about it that way, the veins and arteries in our body is just simply a road. It's a road that carries nutrients and oxygen to your body and takes away the waste and the unoxygenated blood, whatever, right? Like all it is a highway, right? So when someone like me, and perhaps like you, who is fat adapted, meaning you have very low glucose in your blood, and in fact, your blood is not carrying glucose as the main transporter for fuel, it instead is bringing fat. But here's the thing. Your blood cannot carry fat. Your blood is not carrying fat. Yeah, actually, Kat, I'm going to talk about that. I just had one today. I got two tests today. I held up 3 fingers. I got 2 tests today. I got an ApoB test this morning, blood test, and I did a CAC scan this evening. So I'll share with what those are going to result in. I don't know what those are going to be. I did have a cardiac catheter put in to look at my heart, and they found mild plaque on one side and moderate plaque on the other. And with high cholesterol, they were all freaking out and wanted me on a statin to start doing injections. I've decided not to do any of that yet anyway. I'm not opposed to it. I'll be honest with you. I don't want 500. I don't want to have, you have 0 CAC. Yeah, so I mean, look, Kat, I am so hoping that is my case. I am so hoping that they give me the result and they're like, you know what, actually you really are fine. I mean, because I feel fine. I feel more than fine. I feel fantastic. I feel the best I've felt in my whole life. Like, to say that I'm doing something wrong is just heartbreaking. Because that's just it. You know, Louise was like, my wife, she was like, if the tests come back, the calcium score comes back, or the AB, what is it called? The ApoB comes back, and it's not good, what are you going to do? And I honestly don't know. I have no idea. I mean, go back to eating Chinese food and pizza? Like, I don't know. When I was eating Chinese food and pizza, my doctor didn't give a shit. Pardon my language. But anyway. So when you are fat adapted, there's something this is a hypothesis, of course. There's something called a lean mass hyperresponder. And the thing about a lean mass hyperresponder is, well, here's the thing I was trying to make, the point I was trying to make. When you rely on fat as fuel in your body, fat cannot on its own travel in your bloodstream. It can't. It has no ability to just, like glucose. Glucose knows where it's going. It just travels on its own. It's like its own little slip inside. Glucose needs nothing to traverse your veins and artery system. Doesn't need anything. Doesn't need directions. They just know where they go. They know how they're going there. Fat is not the case. Fat actually needs to have a lipoprotein attached to it. Think of it like a gas truck, like a truck pulling a tank of gas. That's what what for being fat adapted is. When you're on a keto diet and you're fat adapted, that means these lipoproteins enter the bloodstream and they are what is pulling or transporting the fuel, the fat fuel, throughout your body for you. And those lipoproteins are LDL cholesterol. And so that's what all this is saying. And my uric acid went down to 4.9, which is amazing. That's amazing. My kidney functions are great. My vitamin D is too high because I doubled up on my vitamin D. I've been taking Dr. Bozell's D3 and K2 tablets, and I've been doubling up on them for the winter because I don't go outside enough. And I was like, I should just have more vitamin D. Well, now I overdone it, so I have to reduce that. My bilirubin's up a little bit, but that's probably okay. My red blood cells are down. My hemoglobin is slightly low. Maybe have a vitamin B deficiency. I can't imagine that because of course, my vitamin D is fine. My folate is fine. My urine is fine. All right, you probably don't need to see the rest of this test. My point is there's a hypothesis out there that people like us who have low body weight, I love that I'm in that group, have a low body mass and are fat adapted, that we have to have by default an overabundance of cholesterol, these little lipid proteins in our blood because they're needed to transport our fuel. They're literally the fuel truck pulling that's full of all the fat fuel that we're using to run our entire system, our entire body. And that is the reason why you're keto adapted, you would have high cholesterol. That's the reason. Well, that makes sense to me, but that doesn't get us off the hook because the truth is still there that cholesterol, LDL, can still get behind the arterial wall and cause inflammation. And so then the conventional worry is more LDL, more cholesterol, more chances for inflammation, which I think is reasonable. I think that's a reasonable assumption. However, I would counter it with saying, but hold on, we're talking about it being the only marker of inflammation. Because let's think about all the things that cause inflammation, from sugar to processed carbohydrates to cigarettes, to alcohol, to drug use, to stress, like all of these things cause inflammation and high cholesterol. Okay, well, if you take all of them away and you replace it, then you only have one thing, just a high cholesterol, but you're eating lean, you're not heavy, you're not overweight. I mean, my body fat percentage right now is 17.5. I weighed 200. I have to start getting used to not saying 200. I have not said anything other than 200 my whole life. I weigh 185 pounds. I'm very active. I'm running. So I have to have surgery. So I have to have surgery in a few weeks. It's not going to be that big of a deal, I hope. But so I get my blood work done. I did an EKG today. I did I did the ApoB test, the blood test today. I'll get those results. I did the CAC scan to get the calcium score. And my doctor does the scan and so blood pressure. My blood pressure was 117/77 or something. My oxygenated blood was 99%. My heart rate, my resting heart rate was 54. And then he does the EKG he does the EKG and he's like, oh, it's totally normal. And then he sees my blood work and he goes, oh my God, that cholesterol number. I mean, you're heart attack city. I'm like, sir, with peace and love, what are we talking about? We just did this. You just said, hey, your blood pressure's amazing. Your resting heart rate's amazing. Your EKG looks amazing. Your A1C is great. Your glucose is amazing. My triglycerides are amazing. My good cholesterol is amazing. This one number, and all of a sudden he's like, oh, we're all knocking on death's door. I'm like, all right, for the love of God, for the love of God. And he's serious. He's serious. When I was a kid, there was another minister family. That's the other thing too. When growing up, there was always all of our friends were also minister kids. You know what I mean? my dad was friends with other ministers and preachers, around the county or whatever. So we would always get together with them. And there was this one guy named Richard, who was a pastor, Richard. And he had a daughter who, I remember him one time saying that, because in Christianity, and I don't know why this is exactly, and I'm not here to defend it, but for one reason or another, their mission is just to constantly tell everybody about Jesus, which is nice, but they always want you to accept Jesus into your life. They just want to accept, so they're always trying to convince you. If you're a non-believer or somebody who doesn't go to church or you're on the fence, they will really work hard to get you on their side. And I remember Pastor Richard talking about his daughter and saying that she was really good at getting people to accept Jesus into their life. And her strategy was to always bring up their kids or their family, and it'd be like a life and death thing. Like, she was always really good at like going, see, you like seeing your kids now. Well, how would you like to see them in the afterlife? You're not going to see them if you don't accept Jesus. Like, she would fear monger them. And she was really good at fear mongering them into becoming a Christian or getting baptized or coming to church or something. And I remember hearing it and it just kind of being like, that's aggressive, like it's not for me. I mean, you believe what you want to believe, just peace and love. Let me believe what I believe, right? Like, that's it for me. I'm out. I don't care. But my doctors, and I'm using plural here because it's plural, my doctors take the same approach with me. All they do is fearmonger. All they do is tell me I'm going to die if I don't start taking a medication. And I tried to point out, I come prepared. I brought a bunch of paperwork with me. I was prepared to talk about all these things with him about metabolic. I wanted to talk to him about keto, because he's a good guy. I'm sure he's a great father. I'm sure he's a great husband. I'm sure he's a great son and brother or neighbor. I'm sure I would love to teach him or tell him about keto. I would love to be the one to go, oh my God, you got to try this diet, I haven't seen him in a year. I've lost 80 pounds since I've seen him. I've lost 80 pounds since I've seen him. I cut my body fat in half. I'm the healthiest I've been. My A1C is the lowest. The last time I saw him, I had gout and I had high uric acid. My uric acid was like 6.9. And I asked him for a prescription of fluvoxostat, which I had just learned by Dr. Boz. I didn't even know it existed. And he said, no, I can't get it for you. So he wouldn't even write me a prescription to reduce my uric acid. So I'm coming in with this brand new blood test showing that my uric acid now is at 4.9. Like, holy smokes, right? Like, I want him to go like, what have you been doing? I'm expecting him to go, oh my God, Ralph, you look amazing. What have you been doing? I swear this is true. Not only does he not say any of that, but the only thing he says about my blood test is that cholesterol is higher than it ever should be. You really have to get that cholesterol down. Now I was like, doctor, what the hell are you talking about? I said, can we talk about anything? Is there any number? Did you notice anything on my blood test that's positive that we can do you know what a compliment sandwich is? You go, oh my God, those are great shoes. You're going to die. I love that shirt on you. You know what I mean? Like, good Lord, learn to give compliment sandwiches. I'm only saying it not to rag on him, but to put out there for you and as a reminder to me, we have to be our own advocates. We have to do our own research. Read. All right. It's all what research is, just reading. We have to read ourselves. We have to stay in tuned. I would not advise anybody to not listen to their doctor. But for me, I listen to my doctor and I listen to him and I read. and I watch, and I listen, and I consider other things and other opinions, and I'm looking into it, and I'm interested. And I'm the only, it's me. I'm the one who's going to lose here. I'm the one who's going to lose here if I don't get this right. If, like Kat was saying, if my cholesterol is 597 and my CAC score comes back at 0, I mean, I'm having a party. I'm going to do cartwheels. I might hurt myself. I'm going to try. I will be so happy. And I'm also prepared for, you know what? I might not have a CAC score of 0. I might have a lot of buildup. And there might be a lot of things that I need to consider. And I'm willing to consider them all. I'm willing to consider them all. What a day. What a week. What a life I'm living. Really appreciate everybody's support. A lot of people have been going out and getting my book, Adventures in Dietland. I really appreciate that. If you want a signed copy, you can get this anywhere. You can get it as an audio book. You can get it on Amazon, Barnes & Noble. Go to any bookstore. They can get it for you. If you'd like a signed copy, just go to ralphpeterson.com. There's a book section, and you'll find this book, as well as my children's books and my management books, if a signed copy is something that you want. Other than that, I am running a test. I have been for a couple of days now. If you haven't been following me, I have been posting every day here on YouTube. Been tracking my numbers every day and looking at because I hate seeing the dip. And I'm trying to figure out and I don't know why I think or thought that it should be this way, but I thought once I get into a state of ketosis, I should just flatline. Why does it change? Why does it do this? Right? Why can't it just be this one number? I don't know. So I am testing for the next 30 days. I'm testing 3 times a day. I'm testing right when I wake up in the morning. I'm testing at the 20-hour fasting mark, and then I'm testing right before I eat dinner, because I am still only doing the 1 meal a day. Otherwise, I hope you found this helpful. If you did, please do me a solid. Share it with your friends, your families, colleagues. You don't have to say, hey, you have a weight problem, or hey, I know something. You should just go oh my God, there's this guy, Unapologetically Keto. You should look it up. All right, that's it. I'm going to get out of here. Thank you all so much for your support. If you've got a great story, if you want to be on the show, I would love to have you. Kat, I'm talking to you. Liz, I'm talking to you. Would love to have you. I'd love to interview you. I'd love to share your story. I'd love to learn your story about all the things that you've been going through as well on this keto journey. That's it. I'll see you guys later.